Howdy everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little different and giving you guys a couple tips and tricks when starting a new game or even throughout your playthrough that can make your life a little bit easier. So first thing we're going to do is when we do a new game, I'm just going to go to custom game star system and we're going to name it tips and tricks. Offline survival. I'm gonna uncheck autosave. And in the settings, I'm not gonna change too much, but what I have changed, or will change as well, is enable spectator. It's always nice to have. Consoles, I don't believe you guys have in-game scripts, but PC players you will, so we'll check that off as well. I take off progression, right? And then we want to find the one that says enable auto respawn. Uncheck that. So we should have autosave turned off. And then the spectator turned on, in-game scripts turned on, progression turned off, and auto respawn turned off. And I will explain the auto respawn here in a moment. But if we go to OK, everything else is fine. Hit OK. And as soon as we're loading in, we just wait for the screen. Now, tip number 2, it's going to ask you which place you want to do. Now, I have loaded in here once already, so just to make sure everything was working right. So you won't have the survival kit. But the easiest place to spawn is going to be Earthlike. Mainly because, even says here is easy, it has 90% oxygen, the planet gravity is 1.0, plus it also is a temperate climate. So you're not worrying about temperature and you're not worrying about oxygen. The only thing you have to worry about at that point is your power and your hydrogen. And even hydrogen you can let go because it's only used for your jetpack. So we're going to go ahead and drop into Earthlake and get on to tip number 3, which is immediately going into third person and looking for ore deposits as you come down. This can definitely save you time in the future as long as you can see the ore patches, which you can see we're about to actually land on one. Those black spots are what we're looking for. And then there's another one down on the ice over there, if you can somewhat see it. But this also leads into tip 4 of knowing where you're landing. So, is this landing area gonna work for what you want to do? For me, not necessarily. I want something a little more flat, a little more easy to drive on, because maybe I want to use rovers. So, let's just say this area is not good. The reason we checked that one box for auto respawn is so we can go in here. If you're on keyboard, it's backspace, as long as you're standing in a normal position, and you just hit respawn. And now I have the regular survival kit I was just at, but we can hit Earthlike again and respawn in a different area. And each time, it's going to give us a different spot. And this is worse, actually. So this may take a few times to actually do. So don't get discouraged if it just keeps putting you in a terrible location. Ooh, that ragdoll though. It may take a few times of actually getting the area you're looking for or something that you can work with, but you'll be fine. Ooh, little hiccup there. Now you are going to have these body locations if you keep doing this. So if you go to your GPS and just delete them, they'll go away. Same thing with the respawn pods. And I'm going to do this until we get a decent location. Okay, so I think we've found probably the best one I've had yet that will work for what I want. You can see I've only done this maybe a handful of times. So, like I said, don't get discouraged. It will take a little bit because the game does like to spawn in weird locations. But we can always adjust for that later once I stop rolling. Now I have stopped rolling. Cool. That works. Tip number 5. Really blowing through these today, ain't we? So, when starting your little mine over here, next to your survival kit, what you want to do is right-click past all the grass and any dirt layer that might be underneath it. Get directly to the stone. Because if we look, stone will give us 293, 68, 65, kind of outliers. For the most part, you're going to be getting in the hundreds or high double digits. If we go up to the grass area and look, let me empty my inventory. If it wants to give me anything. 2 stones got me 79. So definitely take the couple extra seconds, go through the grass layer and the dirt layer, and go directly to the stone side. Tip number 6. Now, I am in creative for this part, just so I can get you guys a good visual of it. When placing down your first power, it's usually going to be wind turbines because they're usually easier to manage, and you don't have to worry about making solar cells and all that. Make sure your block is 8 from the grid. So I usually like to go 10 just to be on the safe side, but you also want to put it on the far side of your base. So the side away from any hills or anything, because that can affect it. Another thing with wind turbines, and this is going to be in the same tip. If we look at our grid here, go into the control panel and the wind turbine, our max output at the moment is 454.5, slowly going up as the wind picks up, right? If we go over just down in the valley here, and I build pretty much the same thing with a wind turbine. Now it has the same blocks on it as the one up on the hill, so we're not seeing anything different. We are at 483. That is because wind turbines don't take just altitude into consideration. They also take into consideration how much atmosphere is above them and how much wind is around them, obviously. But the biggest part is they're kind of backwards almost, to where if you're higher up in altitude, the wind turbine will actually work less because it needs more atmospheric pressure to work better. So the best places to actually use wind turbines is in lowlands, valleys, low altitude locations. Alright, for our next tip, we're going to be looking at the ore deposits. Now, when looking for ore deposits, the easiest thing to do is just to fly straight up and look for these little black spots right here. That's what we're looking for. You can see there's another one over there. Now, the tip and trick for ore deposits. There's going to be two parts to this. If we go over here, and we see this one shows ice, silicon, whatever. If I make a GPS point, if I do it the right way, /GPS, and we'll just call it deposit for now, because I don't know what all's here, and it really doesn't matter at this point. Alright, I've removed the weather so we can see it a little better. So we have the deposit right below us. If we look for the next closest ore deposit, which I think was over here. Again, we're just looking for the little black spots. There it is. We can see that this ore deposit is just about 2K from that other one. So if I go ahead and make another one here, and I just go in this direction to where I stay about 2K from that one, and I get about 2K from that one, we'll just go off in this direction a little bit. And we can see there's an ore deposit there. And it's actually gold, which is nice. So that is this tip, is ore deposits always are about 2K from each other. Now it might not be in all cases, because there are some of them that are closer together than others. And that is because technically the ores go in a little bit of a wavy pattern. Now, for our next tip, I am in Spectator, so I can show you what's going on. So, I don't like using this because I like not knowing exactly where everything's at and like finding it on my own, building stuff, kind of a masochist that way. But if you truly are getting stuck and you just can't find any ore deposits where you're at, there is a wiki that you can use to kind of help you with that. And it basically has a little bit of an interactive map to where you're able to use and zoom in and see where you're going. So if we look, this is the Earthlike planet. You can actually find pretty much everything you need ore-wise. You can find your exact location, and you can see what's going on. So we can see we have a little ice lake here, and we're kind of on the border of the plains and the forest. So we know we're going to be kind of in here somewhere. If we look, this looks pretty similar to what we're looking at. That looks like that ice lake, and that looks like that. If I just turn this upside down, where we're facing that way, and zoom out a little bit, bring that back up, and we can see that looks pretty similar. So what we can do is we can see exactly where we're at, right about there, and now we can see all the ores that are around us and where they are. The ores for the Earthlike, the Mars, Alien, Pertum, they never change. They are hard-coded into where the actual ores are. So if you know your area, this is what you're going to be able to find. Again, I don't like using it because I like finding the ores and being able to see where they're at. This works, though. If you truly get stuck, this is a thing. One thing for our next tip, because honestly, I forget what number we're on at the moment. If you cannot find Cobalt, and one of your thrusters is damaged on your spawn pod. This happens quite often. You saw as we were coming down, this thing liked to roll pretty easily. Sometimes that will destroy one of the thrusters or something on here to where you don't have enough metal grids to put down a small cargo. One thing you can do is once you get your basic assembler and refinery up, these are able to make large and small steel tubes. So what you can do is put down a conveyor, that way it transfers through. And then if you put down an advanced rotor, change out the head, so we'll take the big one off, go to our control panel, advanced rotor, and if we add small head, and we just weld that up, we can actually go in and go to our small grid cargoes and just put a large cargo on there. It doesn't take metal grids. So we can actually use this as temporary storage for the base. One of the small grid large cargoes, if we look, holds 15,625, which is the same for the large grid small cargo container that you would need the small grids or the metal grids for anyway. So if you can't find cobalt to make one of these, you can put a rotor with a small head on it and use the small grid cargo instead. Works just the same, and you'll be able to transfer stuff through. So if I go into here, let's say we'll just put 10 computers in. We have 10 computers. We look through. I can transfer it to the basic assembler. Well, basic refinery, no, but it works just the same. So for our next tip, we have moved on from wind turbines, and we want to get some solar power up because these wind turbines just aren't cut. So we want to get solar panels. We have the solar tower set up. Mine is kind of buggy at the moment. Can't quite figure out what's going on with it. Just likes to point straight up or straight down. I'll fix it later. But you are noticing as you do it that your solar panels just aren't putting out much power, and they're pretty much all 4 bars. Like, you got 4 green bars up top, you know they're in the nominal position, they're just not putting out enough power. What you can do, and what most people don't realize, is if you grab your solar panels, and actually this is the perfect side, you can double these up, and it will still give you all the same power. They will not block each other. So if we look, our 1 bar there, we still have 1 bar here. And that will essentially double your power output. Well, input is a better way of putting it. So you can actually double these up if it wants to cooperate. And increase the amount of power you get. So like that one is 2 bars. Is it gonna do it? No? Okay. It would help if my solar tower actually worked properly. I don't know what's going on with it. But yeah, double your power input with solar panels just by laying them on top of each other. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Alright, and our final tip for today is when you have everything sorted, Basically, you're in the mining phase, you're just getting materials. I understand this is very crudely set up, but you get the idea. And you have a mishap with one of your mining ships. Say you break the cargo container, and big stone pops out if it doesn't blow your ship half apart. But you still want this stone, or iron, or ice, or whatever it may be. What you can actually do is get in another ship, get some landing gear that should work. Let me make this work. There we go. Put that landing gear on your hotbar, just for switch luck. Then actually go get that stone. Landing gear will pick up boulders. Oh, I might not have the gyro. There we go. That should be plenty. Yeah, now we can move it. You take that stone, and you put a collector on your base like I have there. You can actually just take it and drop it right into the collector. If my ship doesn't fall nose first. There we go. Beautiful thing. You can also re-drill that stone. Oops.
Fuel critical.
Well, that's unfortunate. What you can also do is say that stone. Let's bring another one out. Don't mind the knocking in the background. Is now right there. Oh, it would help if my drills were on. You can also pick it back up with the drills. And actually, you can see that I got the stone because it's spitting it out. But I want this stone, so I'm going to go ahead and put it over here. And then I'm going to go clean up my mess. But I hope these tips will help you out. If there are any other tips that you are aware of or would like to be seen in here in all of my shenanigans, I'm trying to get a list together of all the little tricks to help out newer players, as well as different stuff we can actually do to kind of give them a hand, or just even experienced players that haven't realized it too much. And I hope these tricks have actually helped. If you guys know of any more, be sure to leave them down in the comments. I'll make a video with those next. I have a bunch more that we can go over as far as any mining or flying or anything like that. Base layouts, that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter. Whatever makes it easier for players to come into and get an idea of what works and just to make the game a little easier. But with that, I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Be sure to join the Discord down below and join us there. We do have the public server that we've been playing in and streaming every night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Little selfless plug. Thank you. And we'll see you in there. Have a good night, everybody.